finalizing your title. Dear students, your title is the most important thing about your research study because that is the first impression of your study. Everybody who will come across your study would definitely know about the title of your study first of all, right? So the title is supposed to be very carefully finalized, and it's not only very important, but it is very, very critical because you should know that your title is your first impression, and wherever your study would be mentioned in a journal maybe or in a report, so your title is going to be your first impression, right? So it is very, very critical to decide to finalize your title very carefully. Titles are definitely they are to attract your readers, right? And they can either attract or dissuade your readers. So if your title is attractive and if it has the ability to attract your readers, that is your success, right? So your title must be very, very attractive and very, very carefully designed. Your title must have the focus of your study. That what's the focus of your study of research, and then it may also include your research question or questions, the idea about research questions, right? So that it is not only attracting your readers, but it can also provide the required information, and it can also reflect some of your hypotheses or hypotheses, because your title is something which is a hint towards your hypothesis, towards your research question, and also of course towards the focus of your study. Your title can also tell something about the type of your research study, that what type of research study it is, whether it's quantitative or it's qualitative, and then whether it's primary research or it's a kind of a review of literature, or your study might be a position paper, right? So the type of study based on whether it's a primary first-hand data, and it gives the information to readers that whether it is a primary research or a review of already existing literature, or it could be your position paper, right? So that is reflected in your title. So title is really important. And then your title should not require unnecessary reading, right? So your title should be self-sufficient, okay? And it should be appropriately conveying the message that what's the focus of the study. So it should not require any unnecessary further detail, okay? So it is kind of very short and succinct, right? So this succinctness is basically the very important aspect of your title, and your title must be giving the required information so that your reader from the very first look of your title should decide that whether it is relevant to his or her field or not, right? So it should be self-contained and a very complete, a very succinct, but at the same time it's technically written, so it is very short. It is telling the reader about your basic information of the study, right? That what kind of research it is, and what is the nature of the data. And let me just show you some examples of titles of original studies, right? Like the one which is written by Sang in 1996. This title is Comparing the Effects of Reading and Writing on Writing Performance, right? So it's very clear from this title that it's the comparison of the effects, the effects of reading and writing, and then that effect is evaluated on the writing performance of the students, okay? So that is a very succinct kind of title, and it gives the basic information of the study, that it is the primary research done by the researcher, and the focus of the study is very clearly given, right? And then let me give you one more example of a title. You see, second language learning and the teaching of grammar. So you see, from this title, we don't actually have the idea that whether it is a primary research or a review of literature, right? So this is not kind of, a good title, okay? So while deciding your title, while finalizing your title, you must make sure that your title is not only giving the required information, but it is also attractive, and it is succinct, and it is short. One more title which I would like to share with you is this one: word translation at 3 levels of proficiency in a second language, right? There is a colon, and then after colon, the ubiquitous involvement of conceptual memory, right? So, a bit longer title, okay? And then it's also one original study, right? So the title is original, done by D. Groot and Poot in 1997, right? Now, if you just analyze about this title, there is one problem with this, and I think that could be easily detected, that the second half of the title, which is after the colon, is not really required. And still, the focus of the study is visible in the first half of the title. You see, like word translation at 3 levels of proficiency in a second language, right? So you see, this is something which is, to be made sure that your title is not only short, it's attractive, and it's succinct, right? So these are the points which are to be made sure. And in order to decide your title, you must fulfill 3 criteria. And these 3 criteria are basically that what is the focus of the study that should be reflected in your title. Then what's the type of research? And by type, I mean that whether it's a primary research or a position paper or a review of literature. So it should be very clearly reflected in the title of the study. Okay, and the third criteria is succinctness, which is more about the style issues, right? So your style, must be very clearly making your title not only attractive but also very composed and very succinct, right? So these 3 criteria are there, and you must decide on the basis of these 3 criteria your title of the study.